everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of our podcast, European Future, Green and Sustainable. My name is Anna and I'm your host for today. I'm joined by Sasho from Bulgaria and we're going to discuss mission management and planning in green entrepreneurship. Hello Sasho, how are you?
I'm doing amazing, thank you.
You're welcome. Could you tell me more about, let's start with mission in green entrepreneurship because it's a crucial element for starting any business.
I agree with your statement, and what I'll tell you about mission is that the goals that you set yourself, they define the success that you will receive. So it's very important to stick to the ideals that you place in your business, as well your customers, they want you to have clear goals and achieve them. What I mean by that is that if you chase only the money and you don't want to bring them anything new, well, you'll get some money, but it won't be sustainable. You'll get a very limited amount of money over time, and after your clients realize what's up, they'll stop giving you money. So, as I said, it's very important to stick to your goals and set them clear and
transparently, correct?
yes, so that everyone knows what you stand for.
That's great. Could you tell me how management works? Because you have the mission, you have the idea. How do you apply those values into the reality?
Well, in management, it's very important to have a very clear oversight over the workers. It's, as I said, very important to keep by your ideals and the standards, and someone has to keep them in check. So it's very important to have a quality over quantity standard and clear goals that are kept in check. In green businesses, some of the most widely used ones and very effective are firstly a zero waste policy. I'll give you an example with one of the businesses that we did earlier with plum farms. So, as you know, the plum fruit, it has a kernel inside of it. And when you make, for example, rakia with it, you take only the fruit, you throw out the kernel, and that's it. But we decided to implement a zero waste policy. So instead of throwing out the kernel, we started making oil from it. So in that way, there is absolutely no waste, and 100% of the materials are being used to make profit. Another thing that is very effective is the type of circular economy that Sweden has, which has proven great results over time.
That's awesome. Okay, could you tell me how you plan to execute those green entrepreneurship ideas and manage them?
Well, of course. On planning, I would say that it's very important because if you have, as I said, a goal that you want to achieve, well, you can't just let fate take everything in its hands. You have to have a clear plan and a way to achieve it. So I'll give you again a very good example. For example, the Netherlands is currently having a massive problem with its land and the fact that some of it is under sea level. And with the global warming becoming more and more of a bigger issue, it might affect them. So they've started taking very important measures and very drastic ones in some cases. For example, almost every single citizen in the Netherlands is taught how to swim with their clothes. And there is other type of measures that they're taking. I'm not going to get really deep into it as it's not really important to the topic, but they highlight the biggest idea here. We have some kind of anticipated problem that we might face in the future. So instead of waiting for the problem to arise and hit us in the head, we try to make a plan how to solve it beforehand. And currently, it has been proven as a very effective, and it's a little bit more modernistic way of thinking. It's the SWOT analysis and the SMART analysis. I'll give you an example with the SWOT analysis, as that's what we use.
Could you tell me first what is a SWOT analysis, please?
Of course. A SWOT analysis is taking the idea and splitting into its strong parts, its weaknesses, the opportunities that it provides, and the possible threats that it might have. It's not very difficult to do. It doesn't take that much time, and it's very clear. You have everything on paper, you see the problem, and you find the solution. And after you have the plan, you might say, well, how does it benefit? So in business, you have to always take risks. Nothing is 100% sure it will happen. Sometimes you just have to throw in the dice. But when you have a plan, the risk is drastically reduced. So that's why planning is very important, and it's a key factor in green entrepreneurship and business in general.
That is great. I completely agree with you that it's very important to take preventive measures when trying to solve a problem, you know, even if the problem hasn't arrived, because if we do take the measures, it might never come. Okay, we covered planning. Could you tell me about your community or the green business community? How does it work? Is it any different from your average business one?
It is indeed very different. I think it would be very fitting to give some examples in the European Union and how green business functions here. But I'll say that in general, green business is a little bit more goal-driven than profit-driven. It's way more socially focused with a way more idealistic way of thinking. In green business, you find a concrete social problem in the ecology sector that you want to solve, and entrepreneurship, so about solving problems. So you find a solution, you put it on the market, and people will give you money because you help them solve the problem. And I think some very good examples that can be given is, for example, Vinted in Lithuania is an online shop for second-hand clothes. So, as you may know, when you produce clothes, there is carbon emissions, there is all kinds of waste. So, it's a very good solution to use second-hand clothes. But usually second-hand clothes, they're very like local businesses. They're not that global and widespread as brands are. And that's where Vinted comes in. It solved the problem that there were no online stores for second-hand goods and second-hand clothes. So they made a very effective marketplace where people sell second-hand clothes. To be honest, they run into some issues. As I said, we're going to cover the strengths and the weaknesses of business and the idea in general. There is a tiny market on Vinted that sells not really second-hand clothes. It's basically exploiting the site to make like personal profit. But the problem has been almost entirely dealt with, and the people who are breaking the rules of the site are being punished and brought out of the site. And in general, it's a very effective business. It has a lot of popularity in Europe. Sadly, it's still not in the Balkans, but hopefully it will be here soon. I think another example that I will give you is one that actually interests us in a lot in Bulgaria, as we have a lot of Humana stores. So,
Humana is a second-hand store.
Yes, it's similar to Vinted, but it's not online. In Humana, it's way more widespread than Vinted. It's in the whole of Europe. And they have, again, second-hand stores. They're usually very local. They're very local-based. They're not that global. But Humana is a widespread European brand that has second-hand stores everywhere. And they sell on very good prices. And I've bought a lot of clothes from them. A very good problem that they also solve is that some marginalized communities that are maybe underprivileged, they're usually not that green. For example, in my city, in Stara Zagora, the neighborhood where poorer people live, there is always a lot of trash everywhere. It's unkept. It's not very sustainable in general. And what Humana did is they opened a store next to the neighborhood, and it was actually incredibly effective because they offer very low prices that the underprivileged people, they can afford. So instead of having to buy new clothes, they can go to the Humana, they can buy all of the clothes that they might need to, and it's way more sustainable and better for the environment and the community in general. Here the weaknesses are not that much, as it's a lot of positives. They really destroy all of the weaknesses that the idea has.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the insightful knowledge and the plenty of examples. Is there any advice you would like to share with us?
The advice that I would like to share, I would keep it very brief and straightforward. In green entrepreneurship, it's very important to stay loyal to the idea and be loyal to your customers. And in every single type of business and entrepreneurship, there is always risk. You have to be ready to take the risk, to make a step forward, and to solve the problem that you would like to do.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And to all of our viewers, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Tune in for the next coming up episodes or go and watch our old ones. Thank you.